Hey Internet, welcome back to What's the Points? I'm Mike. So today I've got a video that goes counter to the conventional wisdom of what makes a good all-around premium travel card for the typical traveler. So stick around and feel free to give a like and subscribe if this appeals to you. So I just got back from a trip to Central America, Costa Rica in particular, and I got to use the American Airlines Executive Citibank card. And I recently made a review of this card, and now I got to really test it out. And not just in terms of the benefits it got me for traveling, but also in terms of the American Airlines status that I've been working on. The cool thing about this experience is that it showed me that there can be a value case for someone who is not a hardcore traveler or a hardcore loyalist for a particular brand to fairly easily get outsized value from this card. So let me walk you through the ways that I was able to do this. So first of all, I was able to find a flight going there through Alaska Airlines, connecting in Los Angeles, LAX, and on the way back on American Airlines, connecting through Dallas, Fort Worth. The cool thing about this card is that it gives you unlimited lounge access, not only to AA Admirals Club, but also to partner lounges such as the Alaska Club. And I went into this club, it was brand new at SFO. This was the least crowded club I've ever seen. And the funny thing is that it's pretty much next door to a Priority Pass club called, appropriately enough, The Club. And as nice as The Club is, every time I've been there, it's been very crowded, kind of loud, and food's okay, but I would say the ambience is kind of the most exciting thing about that space. By contrast, the Alaska Lounge has, I would say, at least as good of food, and honestly seemed like maybe a few healthier options than was at the club. But wow, just as far as how spacious and uncrowded it was, I could not have been more impressed. And it really is a testament to niche products like this in the sense that airline lounges are still the best overall bet in my book, for at least for domestic airports. Because the Priority Pass is extremely common, and now even cards such as the American Express Platinum and Delta Reserve, cards like this give you access to Centurion lounges. The Venture X card gives you access to the few but really nice, admittedly, Capital One lounges. And of course, now Chase wants to get in the game and has several Sapphire lounges popping up. But here's the thing. These are cards that appeal to a broad set of people, whereas those who are going to get just this one expensive card locked into the AA brand are clearly going to be much fewer than those other cards. And so because of that, and because of the fact that airline branded lounges are going to be generally in almost any airport much closer to your gate and much easier therefore to actually get to and use on your connections, that much more valuable overall. So because of that, as long as you're going to fly One World at all, meaning any of American Airlines' partners, you're going to get good value from this. Now, would I say this should be your only travel card? Absolutely not. No way. Because unless you are that hardcore loyalist, you really need to have that capacity to get good value on the other carriers. For me in particular, United has like half of the total flights out of this airport. So regardless of what I think about United, which is actually reasonable, status isn't useful here because there's so many elites, so many business travelers. By contrast, American does not have that big of a market share out of here. Alaska a little bit higher, but still they're not the go-to for business travelers in general, and particularly here. And so I've been able to test this hypothesis on these two flights. And because I was able to achieve a high level of American status last year, specifically Executive Platinum, that puts me pretty much at the top of the list. With Alaska, you get one notch below what the equivalent Alaska flyer would get. So, and that caps out at the second to the top status level, which is Platinum Pro. With American, you'll still be below the third level for Alaska, which is MVP 75K. But you will be ahead of both MVP and MVP Gold. I've been able so far to get a fairly high success rate, including, most importantly, both legs Costa Rica, meaning the first flight from SFO to LAX confirmed in advance, which was nice. The connecting flight came down to the wire and was a last minute upgrade. I did have to finesse it a little bit. We were on the upgrade list, but it seemed like only myself and not my partner. I'm not really sure what that was about. I had to sort that out with the gate agent, and she manually added her back in. And then after that, we were seated in different rows. So we had to beg one person to move. Fortunately, they didn't mind moving one row to allow us to sit together. It just shows that it's still better, all things equal, if you really want to fly first class, to just book the seats that you want. That is the conventional wisdom. Sure, it's expensive, but if that's actually important to you and you can afford it, it's probably worth it. For me, my hypothesis this year was, can I affordably or reasonably affordably get status through mostly non-flying spends such as shopping, and actually see value from that as an infrequent traveler, because you have to fly to actually get value from status. This year I will be flying enough in and of itself to justify this status, possibly. If I'm able to get upgraded on every single one, I think I've got about 8 different flights this year combined with AA in Alaska. So if all of those yield upgrades, then yes, in my book, it's absolutely worth it. If half of them do, probably still, because there's a lot of other benefits of status that I won't get into at the moment. But the whole point of doing this exercise was that I earned a whole bunch of redeemable miles along the way, mostly for shopping on things or dining that I would have done anyway, for the most part. And so even if I don't get that much benefit from the status, I still get all those redeemable miles. That's where this card comes in, because like I covered in my previous video, I'll put a little link here. This card, like we covered previously, it supercharges your movement towards status. And the one thing I'll cover really quickly is that there are 2 thresholds for getting 10,000 point loyalty bonuses. One of them is at 50,000. So as soon as you hit that 50,000, you're immediately bumped up to 60,000. The next one's at 90. When you hit 90, you're then immediately bumped up to 100,000. The cool thing about these is that there's no spend required, unlike virtually every other threshold-based benefit that you get on mid-tier premium travel cards, and increasingly so now. I mean, look at this massive slate of changes that has us all whirling around that United and Chase just made together. And it's kind of a mess. By contrast, I think this card is actually a little simpler, a little bit easier to get positive value out of without having to hunt quite as many silly credits. I think the credits are slightly silly on this card. But the thing that's not silly, and that my buddy Sledge has pointed out in his recent video, you get 10x earning on portal travels, on hotels and rental cars booked through the Aadvantage portal. I've been able to do that several times already, which has not only helped me get to status fairly quickly, but it's also multiplied with these other boosts. And to that point, each of these 2 thresholds, the 50 to 60K and the 90 to 100, it's no accident that each of those triggers a 20% at 60,000 and 30% bonus at 100,000 earning. So your LPs, like I'll give an example. When you have that 30-point bonus, let's say you book a hotel, which is exactly what I did. I booked a kind of pricey hotel, but it came with 10,000 bonus miles just for one night. So how many loyalty points did I get from that 10,000 redeemable miles earned? Well, 30% is an extra 3,000. So I earned 13,000 AA loyalty points towards status just from that one night. Pretty much a quarter of the way to the first tier, which is gold. It's actually more than it because it's 40K. So 40K is gold status. So from one night at one hotel with that boost, I'm already over a quarter of the way to status. But here's the icing on the cake. That 10x earning means that, let's say that rate was $600. So that's 6,000 miles. Sadly, that's only bonus miles. There's no loyalty points earned on that other than the base one loyalty point that you get on any American Airlines card. So your acceleration towards status only comes from these two thresholds, but those are huge. And there's really nothing like that with the other cards. Even if you look at the Delta cards, are the closest to it. You might be asking, well, what's the catch? Well, there's a few. I'd say one is that, AA is generally regarded as the least bad, or I'm sorry, generally regarded as the least good of the legacy carriers. That seems to be the prevailing opinion. So far, I don't have enough data to honestly give too much of a review other than to say at least this last experience was great all around. But that all said, I will say that I did find the seat on Alaska a little bit more comfortable. And so for me, that's what makes this work, is because I am actually more enthusiastic about flying with Alaska than I am with AA. Unfortunately, this is an Alaska hub here. So as long as this card makes it as easy as it is to get AA status, then actually even as someone who is an aspirational Alaska traveler, I'm probably better off rather than pursuing status with Alaska. That's something I've made videos about previously, because with these changes that Alaska's made to their loyalty program, it's not quite so simple anymore. I think there's a good case to be made for most people earning status on Alaska if they care about that, because it's not that hard to do, especially if you're flying long distances. And until they get rid of their distance-based earning chart, they're still going to be the easiest to earn status with by flying. But AA makes it so easy in general, and particularly paired with this card, that it was still a no-brainer for me to use this year. Next year, I'll reevaluate if I can have a little bit more Alaska, because this year, most of my mileage is actually going to be on AA. If that were flip-flopped, I think at a certain point, once you're flying more than maybe, 10 or 15 flights per year, especially if they're longer on Alaska, you might find it's actually probably more efficient, even factoring in this card, to get status directly through Alaska. And who knows, with this new mid-tier card that everyone's waiting for coming out this year, that might have similar types of status acceleration. I think they've hinted that would be forthcoming. We'll have to see. So all said and done, it was a great trip, and I got upgraded on AA on the way back, only on the second leg, which was slightly disappointing. But it's not too bad because I'm traveling with two, and so that means that someone who's even below the list is going to get priority. So if we're number 1 and 2, person number 3 on the list, if they're a solo traveler and there's only one seat open, one seat available for upgrade, they're going to get that. Because when you're with 2, you either get, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, please put in the comments someone who's more experienced than me, whether they would offer an upgrade to only one and not the other. But unless you have a special arrangement with your partner, I don't recommend that. We're about having great experiences together with whoever you're traveling with, and how to elevate the game for everyone that's involved. So thanks for being involved in my channel today. Hope you're having a great time, and let me know where your travels are taking you. Do you feel like this card or even a mid-tier card in AA would help you have pseudo loyalty? Is that something that is worth pursuing for other people than just myself? That's kind of what I'm getting at here. It's a little bit complicated, but it's kind of a big test, and so far it's been pretty rewarding. I don't know if I'll keep doing it each year because it does take a lot of organization, but it's been a fun hobby and a good way of racking up a bunch of AA miles, which at least until Citibank rolls out a thank you point card that transfers points to AA is still going to be important. to find other ways of earning AA miles other than just churning credit cards. Take care, y'all. Ciao for now.